Last night on MasterChef Australia.
This is the end of the line for one of them.
Alvin, Jimmy and Aaron faced off in a basic skills test.
Not my day.
And Aaron said farewell to his MasterChef dream.
If you've done as well as you can do, you've got no regrets. And I've got no regrets.
Tonight, it's time for Gary and George to show you how to cook like a pro.
This is the second to last masterclass, and we should all be very happy.
On the menu, Gary's smoked trout, George's prawn calamaki, and a sinful chocolate dessert.
It's slightly silly, but I think the kids would love that.
Plus, we spice things up in a private masterclass with Christine Manfield.
I want to share some of the fundamentals of spice. You'll be a spice queen before you know it.
Can only hope.
Let's do this.
This is our second last masterclass. Our second last chance to grab a little bit of info, another technique that we possibly might need in the last week of this competition.
Masterclass to me means kicking back and watching Gary and George do the work. It's been one hell of a week and we're the top 6.
Welcome to Masterclass, and we should all be very happy. This is the second to last masterclass in the series. Final 6, finals week next week. Can you believe it? Are you pinching yourselves? Go on, pinch yourselves. Go on, just have a little pinch. Yes, you're here.
Yeah, well, let's all pinch Alvin.
You've done it. And a cosy little class it is too. Only a few months ago, and we're looking at a bench full of people, 24 contestants. And I'm looking at your faces now and thinking, you know what? I'm pleased to see you here. You're the right people in the right place. This is the last chance for you to soak up a few extra little tips and tricks. Pay attention. You never know, you might be able to use them in that finals week.
Earlier this week, Jimmy, Courtney and Jonathan faced off in the pressure test. Unfortunately, Jonathan, who was known as the eliminator, failed to deliver and was eliminated himself.
Then we went into an elimination round on the back of the Culinary Heroes Challenge.
Aaron, unfortunately, you haven't made the final cut. Your time in the MasterChef Kitchen is over.
Congratulations, mate.
It's a sad loss, but you know what? You're all in it. You're all in it to win it. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for all of you.
And now on to happier things, this week's private masterclass. Earlier this week, we were fortunate enough to have an awesome chef enter this building. The much-loved Christine Manfield. Jimmy, you got to cook her dish in the pressure test, so it'd be nice to go to her restaurant and be a little bit more relaxed. And Claire, you're the first one through to the finals week, so have lots of fun.
Thank you.
It will be so exciting. I'm absolutely wrapped.
Private masterclass with Christine Manfield is going to be fantastic. She cooks the type of food that I like to cook.
So first up in masterclass, we're going to do a smoked trout with a winter salad. How easy it is because it's nice and simple. There's a couple of options in terms of smoking and what things you can use. There's a cold smoke where there's no heat introduced at all. It's just about introducing flavour and then something's cooked after the fact. But this one is going to be a hot smoke. So it's smoking and then there's heat at the same time. And because it's fish, it'll cook through fairly quickly. So we're looking at about 6 to 8 minutes to introduce the smoke and cook that fish beautifully.
Yum.
George?
That sounds delicious. You've got a bucket load to do. I'm going to leave you to it. Good.
So first up, we're going to roast these beetroots. Now, these are baby beets. They're the size of small golf balls. And obviously there's standard beetroots, but these are golden. So it's nice to use. They've got different flavour. They don't stain your fingers in the same way, which is the reason I like them. And they add a lovely, lovely colour to the plate. So what I do, it's pretty standard, just a piece of foil with a piece of paper on top. And we're just going to chop the leaves off. Any of the small ones, just pop them out and keep them for the actual salad, all right? I want to leave a little bit of the stem for presentation, and also because it gives it a different flavour to the salad. We just lift those beetroots, pop them onto the foil and paper, and then a bit of thyme, a couple of sprigs, just to give some flavour. Pinch of salt. And I'm putting in 4 cloves of garlic. And the reason I like cooking it like this is because not only does it keep all the flavour inside that bag, but often you'll get a little bit of juice that collects that you can use for the finished dish or the vinaigrette, but also the fact that I don't have to wash up. I just take that foil and chuck it in the bin. A little bit of pepper, a little bit of olive oil. Just wrap that up just loosely. And the foil just needs to be big enough just to form a loose scrunch around it. It doesn't have to seal it perfectly, but it's just a little parcel. And what the paper does is just give an extra bit of protection, so no holes in the foil. It's easy to tear foil. You just pop that in the oven, about 180 degrees for about 30, 40 minutes. So next up, I'm just going to cut the fish so that's ready to smoke. So we've got ocean trout here. I'm going to take a nice long piece of that fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that top portion of the fillet off, right down that central line. So that's where the bones lie. And I'm going to go underneath and just remove that very close to the skin. Not too much brown fat on. Hopefully I'm leaving some of that on the skin because even though it's very good for you, it spoils the presentation. So I've got this nice little fillet. Let's just take off that brown flesh using the whole length of the knife just to drag through. Okay, so our fish is ready to smoke. So we'll just pop that to the side, and then I'm going to show you a couple of elements for this winter salad. And what I've tried to pick is things that are in season right now. I've got some almonds. What I've done with those almonds is I've just blanched them, just covered them with a little bit of water, brought them up to the boil, pinch of salt, and simmered them for about 4 to 5 minutes. And that just allows me to make these nice little chopped almonds. And what we're going to do is just pop them in a pan with a little bit of olive oil. And we're just going to roast those until they're nice and toasty and golden. And we can introduce some flavour, like a little bit of thyme, a little bit of garlic. Just put a little nib in there, just to put some extra something in there. And a pinch of salt. And can you see how they're going lovely and golden? You get a slightly different colour. So we're just going to keep tossing those until they get the colour that I want, which is that lovely golden. And then we're just going to drain those and just set them aside for the salad a bit later.
They do look good.
Yummy. Next up, we're going to just prepare some lovely little radishes. You just remove some of the outside leaves and then remove that little bit of fibrous material that is left from removing those stems. So we're just going to give these radishes a wash just to make sure that we have got all that sand or dirt out from underneath the stem. So now what I'm going to do is just cut these and cut them so I've got a little bit of that tail on so that they look really beautiful. And then we'll cut this one straight down the centre. And if you can, get a little bit of that stem and root on. If that leaf's really big and it looks a bit unwieldy, then I cut that and that's going to go in the salad. So you've got some options in terms of making it look absolutely gorgeous. So we'll just sort through some of these whitloaf, meaning white leaf or endive. This is a bitter leaf like radicchio, and it needs a sweet dressing or something sweet to counteract that bitterness. Now, you can either pick the smallest leaves or just cut them so they are small enough so that they fit on our delicate little salad. And then we're just going to have a few mandarin segments in this salad, and it will just give it a lovely freshness. And then the last one up is fennel. And I'm just going to cut this really nice and thinly. And I want to cut it across the breadth so I just get that lovely pattern to the fennel. That looks lovely. Looks nice. We've got our nuts, all our little beautiful winter vegetables and fruit, and of course the beetroots in the oven roasting. We need to smoke the fish. So Courtney, let's come up and get that smoking done. So come around this side and we'll smoke these little fillets and see how we go. So first of all, let's take the lid off and the rack from the wok, and we want to put in a protective layer into the wok. So chuck that in. we've warmed that wok up a little bit. You can use a smoker, but a wok is really good. We've got a few things here. We've got rice, we've got some Earl Grey with some citrus flour in it and some citrus peel. And we've got some wood chips. This one is a hickory wood chip. Just buy them at your local barbecue shop. And also some brown sugar. Now, the brown sugar, the wood chips and the tea are the thing that's going to burn and smoulder and to give you that smoke, all right? So let's just pile them in.
All of it?
Yep, you can just sort of sprinkle in alternately or however it basically goes in. We've got about a cup of each thing. And really now, once all that's in there, it's just cracking on the heat, turning it up high and letting the heat do its thing on those components. So crack the heat on there. What we want is the heat to draw through the rice, start toasting it, start to smoulder those wood chips and, of course, the sugar and the tea. So we're going to pop a lid on. We're going to give it a few minutes, let it get a little bit of smoke up, and then we'll come back to it. Right, I reckon that's building a bit of smoke, and we're going to just have a little bit of a look. Smoking. What we should do, Courtney, is get that fish into this little smoker. So first of all, I'm going to pop the fish on paper because I just want to make sure that it doesn't stick. And actually, you can oil the fish a wee bit too. It's going to keep it nice and moist during the cooking process. A little bit of salt. Pop it on the paper, and then we'll put these in the smoker. And hopefully, the heat would have built up in there as well as the smoke. So it'll taint the fish with the smoke flavour from the wood chips and the tea. And then also there'll be heat in there just to hot smoke that and draw that through. So we've got little racks that need to go on top. Let's pop those in on the edge there. So pop that on one side and pop that on the other. Because it's fish, it'll cook through fairly quickly. So we're looking at about 6 to 8 minutes to introduce the smoke and cook that fish beautifully. Next up, we're going to make a mandarin dressing to go with the little mandarin segments and the fennel and the whitloaf for the salad. I think it's a lovely combination with that sort of heady smokiness. I want you to zest very lightly, because remember the skin is much lighter than an orange. Just zest that one mandarin into there. And then what we're going to do is quite a standard vinaigrette, about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. And we're going to put in about a teaspoon of honey, just to sweeten. And then what we want to do is we want to cut that in half and just squeeze the juice out. Just give it a squeeze in. Whisk those ingredients together, and then we're going to put in the olive oil. So just give it a good old mix. Looks like it's getting a bit of viscosity. So once we've got the viscosity in there, then what we're doing is we're going to flavour with a little bit of almond oil, and then taste that and tell me if it's good or we need to add a bit of seasoning. A basic vinaigrette should always consist of a third of an acid, so that can be a lemon juice, a mandarin juice, or a vinegar, to 2/3 oil. You can work that out in tablespoons or in cups, depending on how much you make. Did you taste?
Not yet. I didn't know if I was allowed to put my finger in it or not.
Yeah, I reckon you are. Ooh. That's nice, isn't it?
Very
Do you like
nice.
that? And we've got that lovely mandarin flavour and then that lovely nutty flavour in the background there. So that's the vinaigrette. Got all the little salad ingredients ready. And all we're waiting for now is the smoked trout to do its thing inside that smoker. And we want it just cooked. Let's have a look, see what it looks like. Oh, wow. Do you want to have a feel?
It's just.
Just cooked. How we know that is it's got a little bit of give in there and it's going to rest through. So let's pop that onto a plate. You can take that out now. And it's got that lovely little brown tinge. That's really gorgeous. I love that. Doesn't that smell beautiful? So now the smoked trout's ready. I think we can put this salad together. Thanks, Courtney. Well done. Didn't take too long, did it?
No, it wasn't too hard.
So these beetroots are ready. They've been in for about 40 minutes. They've softened, the flavour is intensified, they've sweetened. So let's have a little peek. Now, to plate up this little salad. So many ingredients, I feel like George. Where is he?
Ooh,
wow.
smoky in here.
There he is.
It smells great.
Now I'm going to...
Oh, my God, what's with all the ingredients?
I know, well, I wanted to be like you for a change.
Oh.
So I don't know how it's going to work. George, first of all, I've got a bit of yogurt, which I've drained. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a blob along the plate, because we love blobs. I love blobs. And then I'm just going to take a number of these ingredients and just pop them on. Actually, you can help me.
I can help.
So a couple... Oh, look at those. They look absolutely gorgeous.
They look beautiful.
All right.
Just on the yogurt?
Yep, just a few of those. And I've got some diced apple, because apples are in, pears are in the winter.
Some of this garlic.
Some of the garlic.
Smells beautiful.
Some of the fennel, just a couple of little pieces just to make a beautiful salad. And then I've also got the whitloaf, which I've just used the smallest leaves. And what we'll get is lots of different flavour, some acidity, some bite. George, you know those lovely little almonds? If you just put a, put a nice little pile over the top, and then I'll finish off this salad, a couple of the radishes, and then you get that smokiness and the earthiness of the almonds. And then finally, just a couple of the mandarin segments, because we've got mandarin dressing.
And where do you want this trout?
Just right here, anywhere you fancy, George. How's that look?
That looks
gorgeous.
amazing.
And then, of course, just to reinforce all of that flavour, we're going to drizzle a bit of this mandarin dressing that Courtney made. So a little bit through the salad, and then a little bit just on the plate and over the fish. So that's my smoked trout with a winter salad. Wow. So let's get a couple of you up to taste this dish. Courtney, of course, come up, and Adam.
Bring us back.
I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back.
OK, guys, let's taste.
Too pretty to eat.
Come on.
Let's have a look, see how's that.
It's nice when you just flake it back.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, look at that. It's just cooked to perfection.
How's the smoke flavour?
Unbelievable. The nuttiness of the almonds and that almost nuttiness of the smoke. It's really great.
You know what's nice about this dish is I'm eating it and I feel healthy.
It is that's exactly what I was thinking. It's healthy. Yogurt, fish, no butter.
No butter.
It's probably one of the tastiest things I've had here. Very, very nice. That's my type of food, definitely.
Brilliant. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Let's take this for Almond.
Go for it. Here are my top tips for smoking. Experiment a little bit. You can use dried herbs, things like rosemary, thyme, oregano, or you can be more traditional and use a type of wood chip. Next tip for smoking, use a wok with a tight seal with a lid. That's crucial. And then the last tip is you're not limited to smoking ocean trout. Try it with all sorts of things, whether it's milk, oil, chocolate, vegetables, meat, sky's the limit. So as it turns out, smoking food is not that hard. What we want you to do is just give it a try.
Walking up to Universal, I'm so excited. I'm really excited to spend some time one-on-one with Christine Manfield because I think she's just amazing. She's so inspirational.
What I'm excited about is actually learning how Christine uses spices in all different types of cuisines.
Hi, Claire. Hi, Jimmy.
Hi, Christine.
Welcome to Universal. Today, George and Gary have asked me to give you a private masterclass all about spice. We're going to make a garam masala. Claire, that's going to be your job. And then we're preparing rare roasted venison with garam masala potatoes.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I want to share some of the fundamentals of spice. Once you understand the flavour and how you can extract the maximum flavour out of each spice and then how to blend, then it becomes second nature. Here we have the spices that we're going to use today in our cooking. Here we've got whole nutmeg. You don't ever put it into cooking like this. We have to grate it with a microplaner or a little fine grater. Cloves, now these are incredibly aromatic. And you have to be very careful using clove in any spice mix because it can overpower. It's incredibly pungent. Here we've got cassia. It's a relative to cinnamon, it's not the same. It's a bark off a tree, but it's coarser, as you can see by the bark. And then to grind it down, you need a special machine to get it really, really fine. Okay, now it's your turn to have a guess. I want you to have a sniff of that and also a taste because it's powdered, and try and guess what it is.
I thought it was ginger when I first saw it, but is it amchur, mango powder?
Yeah, and it's used as a souring agent, like lemon or lime or tamarind. This one you should know, turmeric. And just to show you how it starts out in its fresh form, we've got some fresh turmeric here. Fresh turmeric and dried turmeric like this are going to give you entirely different flavour profiles and colour. Back to you again, this time you, Claire, you can start.
Coriander seeds?
Yeah. It's one of the spice essentials. It's used in so many different blends and mixes, and you can use quite large quantities because it's not overly powerful in its flavour, so it doesn't really throw things out of whack too much. Whereas if you add too much of this one, it will alter the flavour significantly. What do you think that one is?
Cumin seed.
Yep, cumin. You'll go again. This one could be a little tricky. One of the most elementary spices in Indian cooking.
Nigella seeds?
Yeah. Do you think the perfume is quite pronounced? I mean, it's one of the things when you put it in a dish, you can really smell it when it's fresh. Another guessing game. Tell me what you think this one is, and just give the pods a little rub because you need to actually crack them open to get the real aroma.
Cardamom?
Green cardamom. It's highly perfumed. It's almost antiseptic. Here's another common garden variety. I think you should be able to tell me what that one is.
Brown mustard.
Brown mustard, yeah. So mustard comes two colours, yellow and brown. Mustard really doesn't develop its flavour or come into its own until it's applied to heat. So tasting it raw like this, it's quite pared back, really subtle. Okay, now it's time to cook, Claire. You're first cab off the rank, and I'm going to get you to make the Garam Masala.
Excellent.
Garam Masala is a fragrant spice mix, and it can change region to region, district to district, family to family, cook to cook. This one showcases the spices of South India, and it's that fragrance, it's the smell that you're getting. Those flavours should be imparted into the food, and it's not something that you cook for too long. It's usually quite delicate, and you add at the last minute. We start with the green cardamom, and you need about 16 pods. Okay, and just give that a good grind to really break it open. Once the pods are broken open, pull the pieces of pod out with your hands so that just the seeds are left in the bowl. The husk is there just as a coating to keep the seeds intact. You don't eat that. Now we need to put a teaspoon of the nigella, and this is going to give a little bitterness, a little pungency to the mix. And now we need a couple of teaspoons of black peppercorn, and this is for heat. So just smash down on them a bit and then sort of work around the bowl. Okay, Jimmy, just stick your nose into that.
Wow, you can really smell the cardamom too, and the black pepper now, the heat's coming in there, so it's like you're layering the smells. It's really good.
The thing with any spice mix is that you should taste all the components. You know, not one should override the other, so that's where we're careful about the measurements and how much we add. Okay, now we need a teaspoon of the cloves, the whole cloves, because these are very, very strong, so you've got to be careful not to blow out all the flavours. And now to balance out the pungency and the heat, we're going to put some ground cassia. So we need just about 1/4 teaspoon, not too much.
Is that about right?
Yep. Now have a sniff of that again. You'll see it's changed character again, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And then finally, another sweet element is the nutmeg, and you just need to grate that on the microplaner, and we need the equivalent of 1/4 teaspoon. Perfect, I think that's about right. Now we just need to keep grinding. A bit more muscle work there, girl. Saves going to the gym.
Yeah.
And we want to get it nice and fine, a nice fine powder. When you're grinding spices, it's really important to remember that they release their essential oils and their flavours immediately, so I grind to order. So the best way of keeping your spices, buy them in small quantities, whole. Whole form is always best, and keeping them in an airtight container in your cupboard, away from the heat. I think you've got a really nice fine powder there. One final thing is just to pass it through the fine sieve. Okay? The reason we're doing this is, see there's a few little chunky bits in there and little bits of the pod, the cardamom pod. We don't want that to go into the really fine powder. I think that'll do. You'll be a spice queen before you know it.
I can only hope.
With the garam masala, we're going to make our garam masala potatoes. A few little things we've got to do first. I need you to grate up some ginger on the microplaner. Okay, we've got about a tablespoon there. Next, you've just got to mince up a couple of little green chilies. So just take them, slice them really finely, seeds and all, and then just mince them up with your knife so they're basically the same texture as the ginger. You can put it in with the ginger and just give them a chop together because you're going to put both of those things into the pan at the same time. Okay, you can just lift it up on your knife to that little dish. Now it's time to put the spices and the potatoes together. So let's get the heat happening, full bore and a big pan. And we want to get that pan warmed, but not too hot.
Gotcha.
Then we're going to cook in ghee.
Yes.
Ghee is clarified butter, which is a pure cooking oil.
Gotcha.
So it allows the temperature to go a lot higher, and also it's a cleaner flavour. We need about a tablespoon of ghee into that pan, and just as it's melting, put in a tablespoon of the mustard seed. This process of putting spice into oil or ghee at the beginning is called tempering, and it's flavouring the ghee or the oil before you add the other ingredients. The heat is what's drawing out the flavour of the mustard, so you want to actually cook it properly before you start to add the other things.
Gotcha.
Now you can tip in your chopped ginger and chilli, quickly. Toss that around and straight away put a handful of curry leaves in. Quickly give it a good toss. Same thing, you're tempering the curry leaves. Keep moving your pan over the heat. Now we need to put a little bit of nigella, probably about 1/4 teaspoon. Not too much because it is quite bitter. Okay, now straight away you need to put some amchur, about 1/4 teaspoon again, and then straight away a teaspoon of the turmeric. And this is what's going to also flavour and colour the potato. Now we just need to put a pinch of asafoetida in quite quickly, and a teaspoon of your garam masala.
Yep.
And work quickly, and then we're going to pour the potatoes in. Okay, now straight away, toss the potatoes into that mix, and that's going to bring the temperature down immediately and stop those spices from burning. And we can probably turn the heat down to medium at this stage. The potatoes we had peeled, diced, and parboiled before. So the potatoes were about 2/3 done. So they're starting to soften, but not getting too mushy, because you want them to hold their shape and be perfectly cooked when they finish this part of the process. Now I want you to add a really good, probably 1.5 teaspoons of these sea salt flakes. Salt's a really important component when using spice and also potato, because what it does is to bring all those flavours alive right at the end. It's like a real flavour booster. Okay, just to finish it off, we're going to add a cup of peas that we've shelled and blanched. Okay, give it a nice toss and stir it around. So it's basically just a minute in the pan, and then we're done. Great, Jimmy, that's the potatoes done. Next, Claire, it's your turn in the hot seat, and you're going to be doing the venison.
Excellent.
Great.
Sounds good.
Okay, now we'll do our spiced oil. So we need a teaspoon of the garam masala into the bowl, 1/2 teaspoon of roasted cumin, and 2 or 3 good pinches of the sea salt, and about 1/2 teaspoon of the black pepper. Okay, just give that little gentle mix around, and then we're going to add just enough plain, neutral tasting oil to be able to massage the spice mix into the venison. Now you need to get the meat, and you've actually got to massage the spiced oil into the meat. The quantity that we've made here is for several pieces of meat, so we have just enough to lightly coat the meat. Then we just lift it up. The oil has gone onto the meat. You do not need to burn your oil on the pan. So as long as the pan's hot, the oiled meat goes straight onto the pan. It's a really important tip when you're cooking protein, okay, that the oil goes onto the meat or the fish first, not onto the pan, okay? Keep the heat high. So we're just sealing the edges to rare roast it. And we want it to stay nice and rare and very pink in the centre. So it's just getting a nice sort of crusty edge. You see how the colour is starting to change? Yeah. I think you can probably turn it over now. See, it's got a lovely brown sort of crust on.
You can smell the spices coming out with the heat, and you can see the caramelisation.
And see how the colour is starting to creep up the sides there now? What I would do now is turn your heat onto low. And we're just going to put a lid over the top of the pan so that the steam works through the meat. It's only going to be for a minute, just to make sure the heat goes through, but it doesn't have any of the harsh cooking.
Gotcha.
So I think now you can lift the lid.
Ooh, yum.
And now you can just take the meat out and rest it on the board. Okay, just have a feel of the meat. It's a spring test, I call it. It should feel like a trampoline. If it's too soft and squidgy and spongy, it's undercooked. And if it's firm, it's tough, okay? And you've got to remember with venison, there's very little residual fat in the meat, so you don't ever want to overcook it. For me, there's no such thing as medium venison.
Yep.
It's either rare or you don't bother.
Yep.
Okay, now that we've got our meat ready, cooked and resting nicely there, we're just going to get ready to plate. But first of all, we just have to soften some spinach in a little tiny bit of ghee. So just get your pan on, medium heat, and just enough ghee to coat the bottom, so probably a teaspoon max. If you don't have ghee, you can use vegetable oil. And can just use your tongs just to toss that around. You're just softening the leaves. And this is just another textural element in with the potatoes. This will take about 30 seconds. As you can see, they're already starting to change colour and lose their volume, shrink right down. So I'll turn the heat off right now. Okay, so we'll just leave that there. Now you need to slice your meat.
Okay.
And then we're ready to plate up. So going with the grain, do 4 or 5 nice even slices. See how lovely and tender and juicy that meat is?
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Just have a look at that, just see how evenly cooked it is. It's nice and rosy in the centre, which is exactly what we want. It's got that lovely spicy crust around the outside. Perfectly cooked. Well done. Okay, you guys have done the hard work, you've done the cooking. Now I'm just going to show you how easy it is to plate it up, okay? The potatoes are going on first. So And we've just got to try and make this look nice and elegant. And just remembering, they've got turmeric in them, so try not to spill them onto your plate. Next comes the spinach. So we just sort of bunch the spinach up and just sit it like a little nest in the centre of the potato. Next, we're going to add a little bit of our spicy masala sauce. Now, I've used the same spices that we used in the potatoes and a few more to get this lovely, rich, spicy sauce. Just enough to make a little puddle in the bottom. And then we start to layer our meat. And just finishing it off with some deep fried curry leaves, okay, just to mirror the flavour and the same ingredient that we used in the potatoes. So there you have it, the rare roasted venison with garam masala potatoes.
Fantastic.
I bet you're ready to dive in.
Yeah.
Huh? It's pretty important to have some of the meat with the potatoes, get all those flavours in the one mouthful if you can.
Wow.
Remind you of your childhood?
This really reminds me of my childhood. Roasted spices, earthiness of the garam masala. That's fantastic. That's what food's all about, that sort of flavour. It's brilliant, it really is.
I love the texture as well, like the crust on the outside of the venison. It's such a small thing, but it's so important to the whole dish. It's just beautiful.
Garam masala, fantastic.
Yeah. Most important things to remember when you're working with spice, when you finish grinding your spice, pass through the sieve so that you don't have any little residual bits of husk, so that you've got a lovely, smooth, even ground powder. And taste. It's your responsibility when you're cooking to taste the whole way. And also you're testing to make sure that you've got that perfect balance happening the whole time. All the best for finals week.
Thank you so much.
And with your future cooking, regardless of what happens.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Remember, keep it spicy.
I will, for sure.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to cook a dish based on this week's mystery box challenge that contained prawns and honey. So we're going to do a prawn kalamaki with tzatziki and herb salad. You're probably going, what's kalamaki? And understandably, well, what's yakitori? What is it, Adam?
It means grilled chicken.
What? Is it on a
Yakitori.
skewer? Is
Yep,
it
on a skewer.
That's right. And kalamaki is the Greek version. All right, anything served on a skewer.
George, it's all a bit Greek for me. You know how that is, so I'm going to out of here. I'll see you in a minute.
See you soon. In Greece, they actually have kalamaki bars where you rock up and have a few skewers, maybe something to drink, and then head off to the next place. So, Adam, we're going to fuse cultures together, a bit of Japanese, a bit of Greek. Come on up.
Cool.
Obviously, you're not Japanese, yeah?
Yeah.
But you've lived in Japan for a long time.
Yep.
You understand it quite well. You used this little barbecue the other day, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So the first job is we're going to make tzatziki. And you know what? It's one of those dips. For me, it's not actually a dip. It's more like a salad. A tzatziki is something that is delicious and it's refreshing. All right, so I'm going to show you the real one, once and for all. This is it. The time is now. Right, so first step is cucumbers. They make up 60, 70% of the recipe. Now, I love using these little Lebanese cucumbers because they're a lot sweeter. They're not as watery as a large cucumber. So what I'm going to get you to do is just grate the whole thing. You don't have to use Lebanese cucumbers. You can use a large cucumber. Have you made tzatziki before?
I did for the kids' party challenge all those months ago.
You did. So this is probably a good opportunity to learn a real one. I think my mother will be proud for sure today. She'll be watching at home going, yeah, that's the way you should make it. I'm going to add a few little extras in there that I'm sure she'll be cringing at, but that's okay. That's okay.
Bit more?
Yeah, go ahead. One more and that should be enough. So that was about 4 cucumbers, okay? The next point is to salt the cucumber. Now, that's an integral part because what we want to do is remove as much of that liquid out as possible, all right? And, of course, that's going to add flavour. Adam, season it like you'd season any bit of food, yeah? At this point here, we've just got a wire rack, all right? And that rack's just going to help us drip all that excess liquid from the cucumber. Cool. And we can just set that aside. and we want to drain out as much liquid as possible. If you keep all that liquid in there, it's going to make your tzatziki really wet, all right? We don't want it sloppy. So we'll just set that aside. Tzatziki is not something that gets made on the day. Mum would prepare it the day before. So prepare the cucumber the day before and the yogurt the day before. And I'm going to show you what I mean by preparing the yogurt the day before. So what we've got here is some muslin cloth. And this is great stuff. We just pop that into the bowl. Move that to the side. And then our yogurt. A nice creamy Greek-style yogurt's good. You can use a natural yogurt. That's fine. And then at this point, we just fill our muslin cloth up with the yogurt. You're just removing as much of that liquid as possible before you mix this all together. And at that point, you fold it all up. And if I can get you to hold that up, sure. We just tie our muslin cloth up.
After that's tied off, George, do you need to suspend it above something?
That's right. You want to sort of suspend it in the fridge because you drain out as much of that liquid as possible. Look already, look how much juice is coming out. That's 2 cups of yogurt in there, hanging. Adam, if you can whack that in the fridge. And there should be another one in there that's been hanging overnight. If you can bring that out, that'd be great. All right, whack that there. Now you can see that, I mean, look how hard that's gone.
Yeah, texture's totally different.
Totally different. We'll just open it up. If I could get you to put a good spoon of the yogurt into that bowl there, sure. And then we'll start preparing the rest. Great. Now, there's got to be garlic in it. I don't like it too garlicky or it just burns on the palate. So I'd use the microplane and grate probably a half a clove into there.
Sure.
I also like to add a little bit of shallot for some sweetness. Okay, so grate, you know, 3/4 of that shallot into there. The benefit of using the microplane is you get it really nice and pulpy. Okay, it'll be nice and smooth. So when you bite into that tzatziki, it's not on your palate. Next step is to chop some dill. So about half a bunch of dill. We know how to shred herbs?
Yep.
Shred. I don't want to put the flavour into the chopping board. I want them shredded once, okay? That's it. Nice and tight. Adam. Adam, huh? All right, brilliant. Dill into the bowl. It's time to zest a lemon into the bowl using the microplane.
I love these things.
They're fantastic, aren't they? Zest of 1 lemon should be enough. I mean, but again, that's personal. Some people like it a little bit more lemony, some people don't. Okay. The next thing to go in is a little bit of cayenne pepper. I think the cayenne pepper just adds a little bit of kick to it. Literally just a pinch. For me, yogurt always needs honey for some weird reason. I don't know, it's in my head, maybe because I've grown up eating, you know, a lot of yogurt and honey. So we're going to pop a little bit of honey in there just for a little bit of sweetness. And of course, I'm using Greek honey. The last 2 things to go in is cucumber that we've had draining and olive oil. But let's have a look at this cucumber. You can just roll it up like that. Look how much liquid has come off it. That there's delicious. You know, you could do loads of stuff with that. That's yum stuff there. That doesn't go in the bin. So next step is to pop some of this cucumber that we've had draining into the bowl. Okay. What do you reckon?
Looks great.
Right, start stirring. Yum.
Great.
It's looking quite different to your regular tzatziki that you buy out of a plastic tub, doesn't it?
Much, much thicker. Much tastier looking.
I feel like a little boy standing there next to Mum while she's making it. That's what I'd do. That is looking absolutely fantastic, but that, of course, needs olive oil. About 4 or 5 tablespoons of olive oil. The olive oil just adds this really lovely freshness to it, and of course, olive oil's a carrier of flavour. So as soon as it hits your mouth, it's going to carry that flavour. You want to give that a stir?
Oh.
Look at that. Does that not look good?
It's looking great.
All right, shall we taste, Adam?
Yes, sir. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? Doesn't really need anything else. You want to pop some of that into there and that'll be ready to serve. And of course, a little bit of olive oil over the top. Adam, brilliant job at the tzatziki. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, George.
We've made the tzatziki, and Adam, you've done a brilliant job at that. The next bit is to do our prawn kalamakis, or what you would normally call them, prawn skewers. It's really important when you're picking a prawn that it smells of the sea. It shouldn't smell fishy. Fish that smells fishy, seafood that smells fishy, crustaceans that smell fishy aren't fresh. You can see that's nice and shiny, it's glossy, all of its legs are intact. It's still got its little beard on, which is fantastic. The eyes are plump and standing up, so that's a fresh prawn. That's a beautiful prawn. The next step is to skewer our prawns. Now, important with these skewers that you soak them in water overnight. It's gonna help not burn the skewers when you put them on your little grill. You take your prawn, it's been peeled, the head's been removed, the tail's been removed, and we've removed that intestinal tract. We lay the prawn on the board, and we just insert the skewer through the prawn. And I want to keep these straight, all right? I love Kalamaki, you know, these little skewers, because they're exciting and they remind me of my childhood. You'd run around as kids just chewing on them. Absolutely delicious and good for you as well. You could apply this same process with things like marron, yabbies, really any type of crustacean. Before we put them onto the little barbecue, we're just gonna drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil, then a little bit of salt. Ready to grill our prawns. Okay, one by one. We'll just place these on. This is a yakitori grill, but you can use any grill you want. You can do it on a little hot plate or a barbecue, but I think something gentle like this is lovely. And we're gonna smoke it up. What's actually nice about this, which I notice, is I've got some of these hard herbs here, this thyme, which is beautiful. What I'm gonna do is just simply lift up the grill and throw some of this thyme inside so it releases some flavour onto those prawns. Very similar to how Gary was smoking the trout, and you can hear that flavour already popping and smell that as well. Can you get that over there?
Yeah.
Wow, wow. These will take about 8 minutes to cook. It's quite gentle. There's nothing wrong with cooking things gently. Get nice caramelisation on the outside, and it's beautiful. We're just gonna start turning these gently, rotating them over. You can see already they're starting to cook. And prawns don't take long to cook. Adam, what do you reckon? Do you want to come and watch these while I make the salad? Fantastic, come on.
That thyme smoke flavour is going to be
How good
amazing.
is the thyme?
Yeah.
Hey, it's beautiful. You just think about what you can throw in there. You can throw pine needles in there to send off that sort of pine aroma, or anything you want. Tea leaves, star anise, cloves, cinnamon, peppercorns. That will just release that beautiful flavour on top. I'll leave you there. You'll be able to look after them. I'll finish the salad. We're going to serve a little herb salad to go with our prawn kalamaki and our tzatziki. Now, what we've got in here is a variety of different herbs. I've just picked away at whatever I could find that was sort of a little bit woody and a little bit a tough herb, as well as some fine herbs. So we've got things like sage, dill, shisho leaves, mint. We've got the tops of fennel, which are lovely as well. We've got chive battens that I've just chopped up and popped inside. And we've got tarragon. So a real variety of herbs. To dress this herb salad, I'm just gonna pop that into a stainless steel bowl. I think this salad needs a little bit of pepper, okay? So a good crack of pepper. And what I've got here is some Japanese mayonnaise. You can make your own thick mayonnaise, it's up to you, but I love this Japanese mayonnaise. It's a little bit sweeter than normal mayonnaise. A good squirt of that, and it's a little bit like a coleslaw, this salad. Now I'm just gonna fold these leaves through it, and what I want is a sticky herb salad, okay? I want it to pull together, right? It's gonna be really yummy, this. I'm just gonna pop that onto the board. Adam, prawns are ready?
Yes, they are.
Brilliant.
George.
Do you want to pull them off and just pop them on that plate for me? Fantastic. Smells great, man. Thank you, buddy.
No problem.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And we'll just pop our prawns on. And of course, some fresh lemon.
I can smell something. Ooh. Can I?
Yeah.
That looks good. Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at that tzatziki. There's a trick to that, isn't there?
Just a bit of love, Gary. Just a little bit of love.
Oh. Wow.
What can you smell?
Sort of a smoky herb of some kind.
Yeah, we threw...
You've tricked it up, haven't you?
We threw thyme on the barbecue and it released that flavour onto the prawn. Wow.
That is gorgeous.
Well, there you have it, guys. These are my prawn kalamaki with tzatziki and herb salad. Right, it's tasting time. Callum, Alvin, come on up.
You better be coming back with a prawn.
Don't worry, Adam. We'll save some for you. Get in there. Got to get your fingers dirty. Go. No, more. What are you doing? Hey?
Isn't that so different to the one you see in the shops?
That is so fresh, and you can actually taste a cucumber. I love how it's so much thicker than the silver ones as well. I think taking so much of the water from the yogurt and the cucumber just makes it so much better.
Yeah, come on. Try some salad. What are you tasting, boys?
I kind of wasn't sure about it because some of the herbs are quite strong. Like when you said sage and tarragon and stuff, I'm like, oh, I don't know how that's going to go in a salad of just that. But it's actually quite nice. It's kind of dulled a bit by the mayonnaise. It's good.
I love the Japanese mayonnaise. It makes it so creamy and smooth. It's beautiful.
All right, Adam, Courtney, come on. I'll feed you, Greek style. Here you go, my darling. Ladies first. Here you go, mate.
Did anyone have lemon?
Beautiful. Really nice.
Thanks, George.
No worries. Top tips for making tzatziki. It's really important that the tzatziki's all about that cucumber. Lots of cucumber, a little bit of yogurt just to bind, and don't overpower it with too much garlic. My next top tip is the freshest prawns are the prawns that don't smell fishy. They smell of the sea. My final top tip is it's nice to use a barbecue with wood underneath. And of course, you can flavour those prawns by throwing aromats onto the wood and it'll release that flavour. There's nothing wrong with cooking something from your childhood, as long as you're cooking it with lots of love and lots of passion.
Next up in MasterClass, we're going to take you back to the invention test where we asked you to give us a dish that represented one of the 7 deadly sins. Now, one of my favourites, the one that I would have picked, was gluttony. And I thought, what would I do? And I talked to you, Callum, about doing a big chocolate cake. And I took that idea and I turned it into a little dessert for 2, which we're going to call chocolate gluttony.
I remember this dish. We used to cook it at Phoenix and we used to serve it for 2 people.
Yeah. And they used to go out in the dining room and everybody used to want one. But it was called oblivion and not gluttony. So this one is gluttony.
Gluttony sounds good. I'm going to go and grab a couple of spoons.
I'll see.
Because you need to share it.
OK. I need a little helper to make this chocolate brownie. Dead simple. Need somebody with a sweet tooth? Alvin. Ah, Callum. You know how to make a brownie, I know you do. Right, Alvin, get round here. Have you made a brownie before?
Yes, I have.
Have you? Got a good recipe?
Yep. Don't remember it, though.
Ooh. Everyone needs a good chocolate brownie recipe, so this is mine. And it starts off with 250 grams of melted butter. 1 block, just pop that in the microwave. 2 1/3 cups of caster sugar, just put it in. And we're just going to turn that on and get it going, and then shake in 90 grams of good quality cocoa powder.
How fast it goes?
I'll just, you know, steady, not too fast. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to dissolve the sugar in the butter and you're going to make a loose liquid to then fold in the dry ingredients, OK? You can go a bit closer, you just knock it down so it goes in. Just let that churn away and just turn into a really gooey, soft, quite sloppy mixture. Just make sure you use a really good quality cocoa powder. You know, they're not all the same. So if you spend a little bit of extra money, you'll get the taste. So 1 cup of flour, sifted, with 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So chuck that through. Nice and easy onto a little piece of greaseproof. And then what we're going to do is going to break in 1 egg at a time. And you've got 5 eggs to drop into that mixture. Lovely, nice and easy. Ooh. So obviously what the eggs are going to do is they're going to help it aerate. And they're also going to enrich in the mixture, especially the egg yolks. Right. Oh, look at that. Look how smooth that's going. getting hungry. So once the eggs are incorporated and the mixture's nice and smooth, all you've got to do is just pick up this and then rain that cup of flour and that baking powder into the mixture. You just pop it on slow so it doesn't go everywhere. And that is the base recipe. All we've got to do then is throw in chopped peanuts and chopped chocolate. And you can use any type of nuts, doesn't matter. You can use almonds, you can hazelnuts, you can use peanuts, salted or unsalted. And also the chocolate, you can use white chocolate buttons, anything that takes your fancy, as long as you get this basic batter right to start off with. Brilliant. Right, Alvin, just flick that off, flip it up, and get all that mix off the paddles. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to take a cup of chocolate, which I've chopped roughly, but it needs to be a bit smaller, because we're going to fold this through the mixture, and that's part of what makes this brownie really gooey, OK? So this is dark chocolate, and I'm just using a cooking chocolate, as long as it tastes good. So that's the chocolate, and then I've got a cup of salted peanuts, roasted salted peanuts, and we're just going to run the knife through those, just so that they're just broken up a little bit. And I love brownie. Can't stop eating the stuff, especially when it's warm. Oh, my goodness. So let's pop the chopped chocolate and the peanuts in. And then it's just simply a case of giving it a stir and then pour into the baking tin. How easy is that, huh? Gorgeous. Off you go. Stir.
Should be enough, yeah?
Yep, just so it's incorporated. There's only one way to tell whether a cake's good, isn't there? Yeah, lick the spoon, but no, first, well, we can stick a finger in. Oh, my goodness, that's sweet. That is so sweet.
It's good.
All right, bang it in there. Oh, I'm salivating. This is ridiculous. It's just a brownie. So that goes into the oven, 165 degrees for about 40 minutes. Now, what you've got to realise is timing versus temperature is difficult because depending on how big your tray is and how deep it is, it will change. So for those at home that are cooking it, if it's a slightly bigger tray and it's slightly thinner, it will take less time to cook. The secret is just to feel around the edges. Should be nice and firm. Will be soft in the middle, though. And that's the secret of a good brownie. So I pass it over to you. Please look after it. Into the oven. Alvin, brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Off you go. While that's cooking, we're going to spin some sugar and make some chocolate sauce. First up, we're going to make the spun sugar. So for the spun sugar, I've got caster sugar, 300 grams, and that goes into a little pot. We're going to make toffee from it. What we want is a hard crack and a caramel. So what we have to do is just loosen the sugar with a little bit of water to form a slurry, to allow the sugar to dissolve slightly, and then to start that slow cooking process towards hard crack. And there's probably about 150 mils of water. It's not an exact science, doesn't have to be. The more water you put in, the longer the sugar takes to cook. Because as the sugar cooks, the water evaporates. So the more water, more evaporation before the sugar gets into some serious cooking. So on with the gas, and then we're going to bring that up to a steady boil. And what we've got is a little bowl with a brush in it and some water. What this is about is just cleaning the sides of the pot down as the sugar boils. So any little flecks of sugar syrup that stick to the side of the pot get washed back into the solution before it crystallises. And the risk is there, of course, that when it falls back into the sugar, it'll crystallise the lot. So we're going to let that sugar cook slowly. And while it's doing that, we'll make a simple chocolate sauce. So we'll just put that sugar out of the way on the back. And then we'll bring this little pot in and we'll make our chocolate sauce. This is an easy one. Not many people know that chocolate sauce is this easy. You need a little splash of water first. And there's about 100 mils there. And then a couple of tablespoons full of sugar. It's just to sweeten, and you can sweeten to taste. So if you want more sugar in, put more sugar in. And then all you need is a block of chocolate. This is a 70% cocoa mass chocolate. So it's dark and it smells beautiful. And all we do is put that on top of the sugar and water. On with the gas. And the secret here is not to let it catch, not to let it burn. You're just bringing it to the boil quite quickly with 1 or 2 stirs and then off, and it's done. So what you can see is this chocolate sauce is just coming up to temperature. It's melting. It looks slightly split to start off with, but as you can see, it comes together very, very quickly. Now, this one's quite thick. What we're going to do is just add another 50 ml of water, and you'll see all it does is just thin it down. And like I say, it's not like we're trying to preserve the qualities of the chocolate, you know, that snap and the shine. It's all about creating a nice, luscious sauce. So then we can just pop that back into the bowl. It had the water in, that's fine. And that's our chocolate sauce. Gee, that was hard, wasn't it? All those people that buy chocky sauce, this is the best stuff you've ever had. That can be just popped in the fridge if you want to make it in advance. And that can keep up to a week or so. So you just got to pop it back in the microwave to melt it, give it a stir, and over the ice cream or whatever it is that your little snack is. Gorgeous. Brownie's been in for 40 minutes, so let's get that out of the oven. So you can see what's happened to this brownie. It's got this little sugary crust on the top. It's quite shiny, it's quite firm around the outside, but actually you can see how soft it is in the middle. So that needs to cool down before we slice it, otherwise we're going to get into trouble. So that needs to sit there for at least half an hour just to cool down. Chocolate sauce is made, brownie's made. Now let's just have a look at the sugar for the spun sugar. Now I'm just making sure that I'm keeping the side of this pot clean. What's happening is it's getting hotter and hotter, right? You think about water boiling at 100 degrees, this stuff's going to get up towards the 160 mark. So it's really, really dangerous. If it flicks on your skin or you get it on your fingers, because it's hot, you try and wipe it off. That's a really bad idea. That's why you want to keep water close at hand, because it's the only way that if you get something, that you can just dip it in the cold water and straight away the toffee will set. And just to show you, this is the old-fashioned way of testing how cooked the sugar is, right? And they talk about thread and soft ball, and then hard ball, and then hard crack. That's at soft ball now, and that means that I can just roll that into a little soft, sugary ball. That's what you need when you make an Italian meringue, for example. That's exactly the stage you need it. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep an eye on this until it starts to tinge a light golden, and then we're going to watch it like a hawk, because we're looking for that slight tinge of caramel and for that hard crack consistency to make our spun toffee. This sugar is really brown now and really hot. Let's just have a look at that. This is hard crack now. That means that that sugar has gone to a caramel and it's pretty stable. And if you crush it, it crunches. I'm going to shock this into the water just to take the temperature out of the bottom of the pan. And we've got it to a temperature where it starts to become a little bit viscous.
With the caramel, you have obviously got enough experience to know when it's ready. Do you know what the actual temperature you have to take it to?
But about 150 degrees Celsius for hard crack. So what we're going to do is going to run out a piece of baking paper, and then I need to suspend something so I can flick the toffee across this suspension to try and create this sort of feathery spun sugar. So I came up with this little idea. Cutlery holders. And some skewers, right? Or some sticks. And I'm just going to put these along here. I thought it was a good idea. What do you reckon, Adam?
Yeah. Awesome.
It's cool, huh? And then what I've done is I've clipped the ends off a whisk with a pair of wire cutters so I get multiple strands, OK? And then what I do is I flick it, make a mess.
That's cool. Amazing.
Here, come here. And I'll make some more.
Cool. Very floss. Hang on. Pick. It is.
It's a bit messy, but the good thing about sugar is that it'll clean off quite easily, right? So what we're making is fairy floss. We've made quite a bitter fairy floss. It's quite caramelly. It's maybe a little bit too far, but I actually like it. And I think it goes really well with the chocolate. So there's a few chefs out there that'll be going, hey, I think that's a bit dark. But actually, when you taste that, it's nice. It's got some savoury notes to it. It's cool.
As it's coming off the whiskey and see it like solidifying in the air and then it drops down.
Look at it.
That's cool.
And then it's just a case of lifting this sort of floss up. All right. So we'll just chuck this on the side. And now you know why I put the paper down.
Guys, I've got the spoons.
Beautiful. Ice cream in the freezer.
Done.
Now, I haven't shown you how to make ice creams. We've done that before. You guys are pretty well practiced at it. So we've just made 3 ice creams. Got a vanilla, got a chocolate and a raspberry. Got our brownie and chocolate sauce that we made, and we've got our pulled sugar. And what I've got is some tempered white chocolate with some freeze-dried raspberries over it. And then I've got some whipped sweetened cream with a little bit of vanilla inside. And then I've got some crystallised petals. All we've done is brush them with a little bit of egg white and dust them in some caster sugar. And what happens is they just dry out and go crisp. And we've got raspberry puree, and we've got fresh raspberries, and we've got freeze-dried raspberries. And of course, chocolate raspberries, brilliant combination. And then finally, we've got some little meringues. And look at this, George.
Ooh.
You know, we said it was gluttony. And I said that gluttony is all about one serve. So even though you think this is to share, it's just mine. OK? So, yeah, let's tip it out and just cut square. It's really soft in the middle. Ooh. It doesn't need to be huge, and I don't think it should be too thick either, because it's going to be pretty rich. George, look how soft it is.
Oh, hello.
That's all right.
Hello.
I told you it was gooey, and it's come just out of the oven, but when you pop that in the fridge, it is actually gorgeous,
I
right?
love that. I love that. I think that's yum.
So we're going to put a bit of cream in. Just a little bit, all right? And we're just going to make a nice little well for that brownie.
You ready?
Yeah. Should we put some ice cream in?
Yep.
Chocolate ice cream.
I like to do kids.
We'll put some raspberry. Oh, and another raspberry. Should we put another ball of ice cream in?
Probably needs it.
Right. Now that the ice creams are in, let's just pop on a bit of raspberry coulis. Yeah, some drizzles. Maybe some fresh raspberries. What do you reckon?
Yeah, just to freshen it up. Some freeze-dried.
Yep, freeze-dried.
That will add a nice texture.
Yep. Some crunch and crisp. And then I reckon a little bit of the chocolate sauce, not too much.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
And then a few of the petals. And then
He hasn't even put the sponge
the
sugar and
meringues.
the white tempered chocolate yet.
It's like a kid's party, isn't it? And then I think a bit of this chocolate.
And some of these meringues.
Yeah, some of these meringues. And then I think finally...
Ciao.
So there it is. Ridiculous, over-exaggerated, whimsical. That is my chocolate gluttony. Because this is a gluttonous dessert, I think you should all come up and taste. Come on.
Come on, come on.
Come on, let's dig in. You all right, George?
Yeah. Always wanted hair. Callum, do you want some of my hair?
It's actually, strangely enough, not sickly sweet.
How can you say that's not sweet? That's ridiculous. That brownie in the bottom.
I think
was
the
gooey.
cocoa's quite bitter.
Was it?
Yeah, and the raspberry sort of cuts through the sweetness.
Alvin, nothing cuts through nothing here. This is just ultimate gluttony.
That is a gluttonous dessert. It's not a delicate dessert, and it's, like I say, it's slightly silly, but I think the kids would love that. They go crazy. Now we're all feeling a bit sick. You can return to your seats. Here, I'll take the rest of it.
Yes.
So, top tips for a gluttonous dessert. I think this one is it. A good brownie. Everybody wants a good brownie recipe. Just make sure it's got a gooey centre. You can't have a brownie that's been overcooked and crumbly. Chocolate sauce. Easy, easy, easy thing to make. You can keep that in the refrigerator for at least a week. And then the last thing, have a go at spinning a bit of sugar or making shapes or, you know, whatever takes your fancy. It's a nice little way of finishing off a dessert. And remember, you've got to be careful about the temperature. It's really hot, and keep a bowl of ice water on the side, ready to shock that pot back into it to knock the temperature out. Well, that's the end of the day, the end of another very busy week, and of course, the end of another masterclass. One more to go, George. One more masterclass to go. It's been a big week, a massive day. So let's come over here, grab something to eat, and we'll celebrate. Oh, just in time. Come on.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jimmy, you missed out, huh?
Looks like this was the best masterclass.
Here, pop a champagne.
Sugar work.
Champagne must be something to do with the fact that you guys happen to be in the finals week. Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Straight for the dessert.
I want you to have a good, hard look at each other. This is weighing up the competition. You cannot imagine what we've got in store for you. And if you think what you've done so far has been huge, then this is going to eclipse everything.
To the finals week.
To the finals week. Yay.
Cheers. Cheers.
Next time on MasterChef Australia.
Welcome to the finals week.
The top 6 amateurs begin the battle for a place in the final 2.
It's hit home for me. I could win this competition.
In their first challenge, they team up in the invention test.
I suddenly feel scared and nervous again.
And the team who deliver the best 3 courses will win a massive advantage for the first elimination challenge.
I'm sure it's going to be something big.
But standing in their way, special guest judge, Iron Chef Sakai.
There's no time for doubt, there's no time for lacking in confidence. We've just got to get down to it and get those dishes done.
For the remaining 6 hopefuls, it's now or never.
One of you is going to take out the title of Australia's next MasterChef.